Hi everyone, this is Melissa. I'm popping in today to share a little bit about my purpose and my passion. I help people write powerful stories without insecurity and overwhelm so that they can preserve a record of their present for their future. How this started was through my own personal history. At the age of about between 18 and into my 20s, I first lost my mom in my senior year of high school, and then 4 years later, my dad. And that was really hard in and itself, right? The grieving process, the sense of loss, the fact that it was both parents, and my siblings and I really struggled with that in the beginning. But the piece that people don't really understand is that idea of now a like step in the generational stories are also missing. And we wanted to find out more about ourselves and things that we had partial memories of, but really we're having trouble finding the stories and searching for what was in our parents' words and from their perspective, right? We had aunts and uncles who loved us dearly, who had been through some of those stories with us, that gave us bits and pieces, but we were really missing the tone and the personal memories that we had had one-on-one with our parents in their words. So this led me to start thinking about how I wanted to do better for both of my boys. And I started to document my own stories for my children. So I started including stories that we had shared together, and realizing that it was really important to me, and what I didn't have in my parents' stories, to document things like where things happened with addresses. My brother and I went on a wild goose chase at one point trying to find the first house that we had lived in growing up without an address, only with like general knowledge of sort of the neighborhood and what we remembered from driving by when we were younger. And so there are pieces of our stories as we're documenting that are really important to include. So I started doing this for my boys and realized that as I was doing this, was actually creating a process to help me through doing it. And I feel like that process came about from all of the past experiences I had in my life. So whether it was the past experience of being a daughter, right, and having stories and having parents that I wished I had more stories of, so that real why was there, or whether it was being the mom who was trying to pass on these stories. But then there was other pieces of my life that I realized were making this easier for me than it would for my friends that would want to do the same thing. So for me as a teacher, I easily can see a plan, right? I was doing lesson plans. I've created templates for my students or worksheets or whatever, but so story mapping came really naturally to me. And when I go to document my stories, I know that's where I start with creating the space, doing that mapping, making it really simple. How do I get from point A to point B? The other role I have is a writer. So I'm currently working through a fiction project and doing my master's degree in creative writing. It's always been a passion of mine. So the writing things that I'm learning in my fiction about showing and not telling and adding the senses, that comes easily to me. And it's something that people that are just going to be documenting their personal stories might not think of, right? So that's something else that I can bring to this to kind of help people through adding to their stories. Also, as a counselor, I feel like that's another important piece. There's going to be times when you're documenting your stories where you get to the really hard parts that might dig up a little bit of sensitivity, might bring up some personal feelings that you didn't realize you felt. And so the counselor in me is able to kind of support as you go through that. So that's another role that was surprised to see is actually coming up as I start this project. And then the other piece is the coach. I have my life coaching certification and haven't really been using that certification in a few years, but realized that part of documenting our stories is this idea of project planning and accountability and breaking it down into smaller steps and support throughout creating goals. So that whole idea of what I used in my past as a wellness coach, as a, personal coach, is coming into play also as I help people document their personal stories. So I really am enjoying tying in all of these unique roles to be able to support you in my passion and purpose, again, which is helping you get those personal stories so that you can bridge and preserve a record of your present for your future. So I do have a resource if you want to go to melissaandkitchen.com. I have a freebie that will be the 6 simple personal story starters. And these personal story starters will help you with some prompts to get you started when you begin recording your present for your future. So again, go to the website to catch your freebie, melissaandkitchen.com, and please come back here to Melissa Loves History on Instagram for any more of your tips. I will be in more frequently to give you some more information.